What's up, 2021, and welcome back. I am Heartbreak P-Boy.
And I am Karma Bridges, and this is the Young Vibe Summit.
It's like the biggest thing in Georgia. We're giving a platform for the youth to have a voice in the community.
We are so excited to have you here, so please get comfortable because we have some amazing guests to spotlight today.
And speaking of our guests, we have two with us right now.
Evan Malbro and Diamond Bradley, welcome.
What's happening?
Thanks for having us.
I remember last time we came, we talked about the Georgia Youth Poll Worker Project, right?
Yeah.
Can you update us on that?
Yeah, so since the last time I was here, we had about 3 elections. 2 were pretty big. We had our presidential election in November, and then we had a double Senate runoff in January.
Yep.
So we worked both of those elections, and we were able to recruit 1,000 poll workers to staff all.
Woo!
That's 1,000
That's
people
amazing.
getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how did that work out?
It went great. We had a huge social media campaign. We did events. We partnered with some amazing organizations, and we were able to, reach the youth and entice them with civic leadership as well as getting paid.
Man, that's amazing.
And then you said partnering, and you have a partner with you.
Yes. Please introduce us.
This is my wonderful artistic director. Her name is Diamond Bradley. She's a native of New Orleans, Louisiana, and I met her at Georgia State. So Diamond Bradley is the artistic director for our Peaches to the Polls initiative.
So Diamond, can you tell us about your position?
Yes, so I'm the artistic director for Peaches to the Polls, which is a voter empowerment initiative that educates and uplifts the youth to be involved in the local and general elections. So with that, we planned 8 events from the general election to the U.S. Senate runoff. So we did in-person and virtual events. We went to Cascade. We did Skate to the Senate. We did a Peaches movie night, and we did Peaches to the Polls twice. So we were able to be involved, just show our platforms of just being involved and encouraging everybody to vote. And I think we had an amazing turnout.
That's great. I hear you're also the founder of the Primary Movement, right?
Yes,
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I would love to. So the Primary Movement is a creative collective that builds sustainable careers and communities for Black creators in Atlanta. I started at Georgia State on February 24, 2018. So we turned 3 this month.
Yes, happy birthday.
Thank you. So I plan annual exhibits like the Divine Feminine for self-identifying women artists, plan pop-ups and do like brand activations like I did with Peaches to the Polls, and just a plethora of other opportunities for Black creators to be involved in the city of Atlanta.
So due to the record-breaking outcome of voting for the youth, how do you feel like y'all contribute to it?
I think the place we played in Georgia's record-breaking turnout was the actual staffing of the precinct and giving young people places to vote in their local communities. So it takes around 10 people to open a polling precinct for a community that serves around maybe 1,800. So with 1,000 poll workers recruited, we ended up recruiting the equivalent of 100 precincts in the metro Atlanta area.
That's big. That's major. And Diamond, how do you feel you contribute?
I would also say with our events, they were just so engaging with being able to provide them virtual and in person. We were able to have facilitators from California be involved, from Mexico. It was great to see people be involved from other places. And even some of the people that we partnered with, it was like people coming from all over and seeing the impact that we were making. And it showed that anybody can do it and everybody has a way that they can use their influence. And so I feel like that's been our impact as well within our youth. So
That's great. So where do you all see the Georgia Youth Poll Worker Project going in the future?
We see it going far. We are currently in a strategic planning and fundraising phase. So we're just getting money for a few initiatives that will be starting in March. So we are doing a voter empowerment brunch with the Center for Civil and Human Rights to highlight young Black organizers. We are also hosting a summer movie series where we'll screen 6 films all across the city of Atlanta in a drive-through function. We're also expanding to the entire state of Georgia. We're also going to be working with a few counties on poll worker training to make sure that, when voters go in to vote, they know that the people that are handling their ballots and handling their applications know that they have all the skills necessary to make sure their vote is counted.
And y'all have some nice merch too. I saw the Peaches to the
Yes.
Polls sweatshirts. Where can we get those? On the website?
No, actually. So those were special collaborations. So for every event we do, one of our goals is to have exclusive clothing given out free at every event.
That's amazing. So it's like a time in the event. Like if I got this shirt, I knew where I was. And
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were able to do it the first time. We actually got a grant from MTV to put on the program, and they paid for all the hoodies and all the clothing we made to give out for free.
Wow.
Well, next time y'all come, we need a hoodie.
Yeah, we
Yes.
do. Because I'm trying to rep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. People love the merchandise. I think it's a part of just like awareness. And when you wear Peaches to the Polls merch or primary movement merch, it seems like a sense of community. And it's very important in this time. And we were able to see that with all of the elections, the way that Georgia just turned into like a whole political campaign. Like no matter
the way
who you
we
were,
pulled through.
yeah, it was
The whole
in
city
every
blew.
way, and it was extremely creative.
So before we wrap up out of here, can you tell them how to follow y'all and how they can get in touch with you?
So you can follow us at GA_youth_poll workers. And then you can also follow us at our Peaches to the Polls page. That's where we'll post all of our initiatives, all of our events, as well as hiring opportunities.
Yes, and then you can follow the Primary Movement on Instagram at The Primary Movement, and you can email us at theprimarymovement@gmail.com if you have any questions or have any opportunities you may want to share with other creatives as well.
Thank y'all so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Of
you.
course, anytime.
Up next, we have Representative Park Cannon. Welcome back, y'all. Today we have Representative Park Cannon with us. We are so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, about what your passions are, what you're doing?
First off, I am a millennial.
Okay.
I
Okay.
am a labor doula, so I help people when they're giving birth. And I like music. I like fashion. I like
Nice.
culture. So I decided to run for office. I was 24 years old. I was straight out of college. I did not have a lot of money, but I was really grassroots with it. And I finally got elected. Stacey Abrams was my first leader of our caucus. And so
Yes.
I just started to realize a lot more was possible for young people. And today I am still the youngest state representative in Georgia.
That is so
Snaps to
dope.
that.
That is so dope. So I know you like to do music and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
did you do a rap
Tell us
song?
about your song.
Listen, I was having so much fun this electoral cycle.
Yeah.
We realized that we could reach voters if we went on YouTube, if we were on Instagram, if we were in their DMs, but we were sending content that was catchy. So first, we did this music video at the state capitol, a bunch of state representatives, and it was called Know Your Reps.
Know your rep.
And the goal was to make sure people knew their reps,
Yeah.
held them accountable.
Exactly.
Okay. And then in January for the runoff, we knew that we could give people rides to the runoff and we could help them get their voting plans.
Yes.
So we decided to do a song from the LGBTQ community to Georgia voters, which was called Take Your Pride to the Polls.
Can you spit for us?
Oh, snap. Okay, so Representative Erica Thomas really is the one who was saying this part in Know Your Rep.
Okay.
But she said, spent $5.2 million on privatization, but took $1 billion from our education? That's why I voted no. Because these bad bills, they gotta go.
Okay.
Okay?
I like
Yes.
it. I like it. I like it. So you write books too, right?
I do. I think that more that we put our narratives out there, the more that we actually have power in our words. People need to see young, black, femmes, men, etc. as subject matter experts on Georgia politics.
Agreed.
I think.
Totally.
We was on the radio waves, helping people get the rides to the polls. We were doing all of that. So I did write a book.
What's the name of it?
It's called The Universal Guide to Running for Office.
Okay.
I wrote this book. It's a 9-chapter book. It starts off with a playlist. It's got some of my favorite songs on it that we knock doors to and we kind of get out the vote with. And it ends with an affirmation journey. Every day, there's an affirmation that I have, and then there's a piece of paper on the side for you to write in your own affirmation as you go along the campaign trail to realize the power of your own affirmations.
I know that your book is surrounding around trying to get younger people to also run or encouraging them to run. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
What I learned as I ran for office was that there's not really a pathway for young people to do it, but it's right there in front of us. So say, for example, you're in high school and you graduate. You're 18, in a lot of places, you can run for school board. And your school board decides your sex education policies, your dress code, your parent-teacher assignments, all of those things. And so if you were 19 on a school board in Georgia, you could be really helping a lot of folks who were coming up behind you.
Exactly. Since you're close in age to those people who are actually going to school there.
So when I realized that all you had to do was be 21 to run for the House of Representatives in Georgia, you didn't need a history test, you didn't need like people supporting you, you didn't need a lot of money. You just needed to go down to the Secretary of State's site and sign your name and like prove where you live. I decided to run. I was not even old enough to run for the state Senate, but when I was on that journey, I was looking for books. I was looking for different type of information that could help me figure out, like, should I have a gig economy job on the side? Should I like go fully into this politics stuff? Who should be on my team? And there were no books.
And how old were you when you started running?
I was 23 when I decided to run for office. It was the night that the Michael Brown ruling came out, that no one was going to face charges for his death. And the city of Atlanta, we erupted. The movement for Black Lives, we shut down the highways. We were doing all these different actions and they were all coordinated. So long story short, I leave from the action, I go to the Capitol, and I'm just like staring at it, just imagining having an office in there. What could I do? And I started paying attention to their meetings. That next week, they requested more money for human tracking systems on helicopters because they said they had increased activity in the metro areas. But what we knew was that was just the people's uprising about Michael Brown's case and all of the police brutality that we know. I have a brother, who grew up in the South, and so these things are really passionate for us, and so trying to find a platform to actually impact the laws with that as a young person, I just wanted more guidance. So that's why I wrote the book, and I'm encouraging more people to look into the young elected officials. There is a network of young elected officials around the country, and I mean, we're doing stuff. We're really kind of keeping it contemporary, but also focusing on the policies.
Can I ask one question before we get out of here?
Yes.
What are some people that inspired you, like your inspirations?
It actually is interesting to think like the people in my family, the people who are out there in the media, and then the people who are never seen. And so I'll start with my family, my mom, my brother, my dad. They have been just the biggest support systems for me. So my family is the first. The second that's like really out there, her name is Andrea Jenkins. She is the first Black trans woman elected in the entire United States. She is in Prince's hometown in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so what she does a lot of the time, as people have seen her in the front face, is be this face for something that many people have never seen or thought was possible, transgender people in elected office. But she does it from an activist perspective. So her and I play around with this term of being called activist elected officials, more so than politicians. Lastly, I'll say behind the scenes, it is definitely the mother of Jamarian Robinson. Her name is Monteria Robinson. She's really behind the scenes just trying to get justice for her son, who was unfortunately killed. He was shot 76 times and then dragged down the stairs here in Atlanta, Georgia, about 4 years ago. And because the case is so public and there's so much moving parts to it, she really has to stay behind the scenes. So what she's been doing is she's been putting up murals of her son all across the city of Atlanta. The most recent mural they did, when they opened the mural, they had the artist come, and whoever was spectating wearing a mask could come up and drill a hole into the mural. They drilled 76 holes into this mural to really take back, you know, what that violent moment probably was in his body and how we can reclaim it. So those are the people that kind of help me when I'm feeling like, where am I going? Who am I representing? And what values am I trying to portray to keep those people in mind?
For the people who are inspired by you, how can they follow you?
Follow me on social media. I love social media. I have a website, parkcannon58.com, but I'm on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram.
Yes,
and
please.
Facebook.
Tell us all your socials because we want to follow you on everything.
Got a
Representative.
Linktree.
Yes.
I'm on YouTube. Even if you don't want to reach out to me about policy or a deep issue, but you just want to invite me for your virtual Zoom yoga or your Zumba or your cooking class.
Yeah.
You know, hit at me. Let's do it.
Man, I have to thank you so much for being 100% who you are and taking up space. I mean, thank you for coming here and talking with us today. I know how important it is to have, especially to have a Black woman in office right now, representing Atlanta, speaking up for the LGBT community. I mean, you're really doing it all. So thank you for inspiring so many young people here today and for continuing to do the work that you're going to do in the future.
You're welcome.
Next up, we're gonna be sitting down with Julius and talking about how he came from a small town to big Atlanta. Vibes.
Vibes.
What's up, Vibers? Right now, we're gonna sit down with our next guest, Julius Thomas. What's up, Julius?
So y'all,
I was reading in your bio, you from St. Mary's. Where is that exactly?
St. Mary's is on the Georgia-Florida borderline. So it's kind of the last town you get to before you get to Jacksonville, Florida. So kind of growing up, I had the Florida lifestyle but Georgia residency. So I'm like way down there. And it's also like an hour and a half from Savannah. So pretty much on the coast.
So you like came from a small town and moving into a big city and being an activist in the big city. How was that like transition?
It was great. There was a lot more food options up here in Atlanta. I love Atlanta. I love the vibes here. I love the culture of Atlanta. And I gained a greater appreciation of my history as a Black man and the great triumphs of Black people as a whole.
How has the transition been with work and finding work here and then also with school? Because I know you're at Emory right now, right?
Yeah. So I graduated from the University of Georgia in 2018, and then I got a job at a company named Marsh right out of college, it's been great, man. It's been a really cool experience.
What are you doing with Marsh specifically?
So I'm kind of like the U.S. representative for contacting Europe and our offices in Australia and Hong Kong, and really pushing out major initiatives here in the United States. And also I'm involved in the city. I got involved with creating a task force called the People's Uprising, which is really involved in getting young people civically engaged and keeping them connected between elected officials, local activists, some of the celebrities and influencers to all come together to try to take a stab at systemic racism.
Okay. And as I can see, you're a Black male. So being a Black male in the type of field you're in, how do you feel like you're helping the fight?
That's a great question, because in my industry, it's kind of the corporate insurance industry. As a broker, there's very few Black people in general, and even fewer Black men. And like 250 people, I'm probably only 2 of that 200 or 50 are black people in general, black men.
Golly.
So it's a lot of weight on my shoulders, but I'm doing my best to provide open doors for the new generation that are coming in and making sure it's a culture that's inclusive and where there's equitable opportunities for success.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Marsh, specifically around Black-owned businesses and how you're helping them out too?
Yes, so I got inspired, of course, during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement to really make impacts in my little circles. So, for example, I was involved in the community outreach that I do with the People's Uprising, but also I have a job. So I was like, what can I do here to make an impact in my colleagues' lives? And then I took a look at our client portfolio, which is filled with 80% of Fortune 100 companies, pretty big companies, not really diverse. And I was like, do we have any black businesses that we're servicing? And it was very little to almost zero. So I was like, well, we are in Atlanta, Georgia, so it's not like there's a scarcity of successful black businesses, so why aren't we servicing these people? So I took upon myself to kind of create a proposal to New York or whatnot, and now we're taking a big initiative to really doing our best to reach out and provide services from risk analysis to black businesses, from reaching out to companies to really get involved with the black community in a real way that could potentially provide more equitable opportunities for financial success. So we're really excited about that. It's very new. It's my brainchild, my baby, so I'm really hoping that it makes a real impact in the community here.
And I see how you smile about it when you talk. How long have you been passionate about this? Like, what made you drive this way?
What made me passionate about this is because it's my community, it's my people, and really in the light of really trying to find action steps to what we do next in this social justice movement, we hear about diversity, we hear about inclusion, but we don't hear about equity too much. So a lot of times with equity, it's not having that fair, open, that fair, even platform to have a fair shot at being successful. And a lot of black businesses lack capital funding. They lack the tools and resources that these big companies get. And it's not like they're just running away from. None of these companies approach them and offer them these services. So I wanted my company to be one of the leaders to really go out of their way to provide services for these black businesses in a new way that's authentic and that's organic.
So I also heard that you are doing something with the New Georgia Project for Juneteenth. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm a part of this organization called the People's Uprising, which is a task force that was designed to take a stab at systemic oppression. So we did things where we did protests for Black Lives Matter. We did rallies for the LGBTQ community. We also registered about 1,000 young people to vote, really involved civically in the city. And one thing that we did to kick it all off was we celebrated Juneteenth in 2020. So we had Little Baby come out, Queen Najee. We had small black businesses come out to really invest back into them. And it was an amazing opportunity to celebrate Juneteenth, which has always been a holiday, but finally getting the clout and the recognition it deserves.
Exactly.
So this year, we're trying to make it bigger and better. So we're reaching out to our community partners like New Georgia Project, who we love, and also When We All Vote. They're going to be a part of this initiative that we're going to have on Juneteenth of 2021. So we're really excited on beginning that planning, and the whole basis of it is to register people to vote and to get young people excited to vote. And especially in Atlanta, Georgia, we know that there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. In the state of Georgia, we flipped it blue and all that stuff, but even right now, there's even a mayoral race coming up, and we want to make sure that people are still voting and still being engaged during this time. So we're very excited to be partnering with New Georgia Project and When We All Vote on potentially creating something amazing this year.
So please, can you tell us your Instagram, your Twitter, where we can follow you so that we can keep in touch with what you're doing?
Yeah, you can follow me at Julius Ginobili, Julius Ginobili, and also follow the organization that I help out, the People's Uprising, at the People's Uprising.
Julius Thomas, thank you so much for meeting with us today. We are so excited to see where you go in the future, see what you're going to do.
Appreciate y'all.
Up next, we have Jason Vaughn via Zoom. Coach Vaughn, thank you so much for coming to us today through Zoom. We still appreciate it. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your program 223?
I'm Coach Jason Vaughn from Brunswick, Georgia. I teach U.S. history and African American studies. It's interesting because students get the perception of learning about African Americans being throughout U.S. history, which is often overlooked. You know, they go slavery, civil rights movement. It's like African Americans wasn't around. So my students are always eager and excited to learn new stuff. I love doing it. I enjoy doing it. Just one of my many loves. Another one is social activism. All right. The 223 Foundation was a foundation that was started after our community in Brunswick, Georgia, experienced the loss of Ahmaud Arbery, and the inactivity that was going on with the police and with the judges and with the DA, and nobody doing anything about it. The 223 Foundation's been there since day one, supporting the family, supporting the community, equipping them with the tools to actually create change. And we were actually highly successful at that.
And the numbers, like I know for the people who don't know, what does the numbers mean?
223. Maud lost his life on February 23rd. And so that's where we get the 223 from. Okay. It's a date that we'll never forget. The 223 Foundation is linked up directly with Maud's family. Me and Maud just had that close relationship. So, you know, when he was murdered, it hit me extremely hard. What we were able to accomplish is not the norm in America. It just doesn't happen. Where men are actually going to be held accountable for a murder in which they committed. For 74 days, these guys were allowed to walk free in the neighborhood after they did what they did. And there's 13 police officers that seen the film.
Right.
And so we got it to the point where we got a couple of DAs taken off the case. We got the right DA put in position. We got enough attention, especially after the video came out. The DA, Jackie, who was absolutely horrible. So we was able to create that change. But like I said, there's still a problem in policing. Right. There was a police chief who had 13 officers on the scene. Nobody gave aid, and none of those officers were disciplined in any kind of way. No training, you know, no senior back, you know, a couple of weeks, none of that went on. We're now trying to make a change and get in the right police chief to create very real change. We realize that our case isn't the only case at the 223 Foundation. We know that there's other cases out there. We get the inboxes and we try to answer back as much as we can and give as much advice as we can. Right. We tell them, like, look, here's the steps that we took. Here's the thing that might be able to help you out. We're still very much advocating for Ahmaud Arbery because it's where it all started, and the trial hadn't even started yet. Seeing that our community come together and actually unite has been the only good thing out of this extreme tragedy. Yeah, so the 223 Foundation, we've just been working so hard with advocacy. And, you know, on the flip side of advocacy, we're working to train the next generation of leaders, the next Coach Vaughn.
Do you feel like you being a coach, you can reach to the young males quicker and easier?
Yeah.
And install things in them?
Especially having that connection with them.
I'm still the guy that reaches out to the youth because, like you mentioned, my coaching experience. Matter of fact, Brunswick High motto is all about the family. And we literally live there. We had 18 seniors. All 18 seniors will go off to college. You know, people say college ain't for everybody, but college is for our kids. Right. And we're going to send them off. Because you don't tell your kids college ain't for everybody. That's what you tell our kids. Yeah. I ain't mean to throw that out there like that, but I was just thinking.
No, throw it out there.
Hey, man, this is your platform, man.
I tried to insert a sense of pride into our players. So on Talk About It Tuesday, after we put on all the work, after, you know, we go out there and hit, you know, after we do all the running, at the end of practice, we all get the guys, they take a knee. Instead of giving an end of practice speech, I give them a speech of encouragement about life. Look at this person in history that looks like you.
Exactly.
That created change. They didn't just walk away from their community, but they did something to create lasting change.
How can people watching right now get involved with your foundation?
Yeah, how can they follow you and the foundation?
So if you want to participate in our global event and really support us, you can sign up for the run at 223foundation.org. You can sign up for the run. It's $23 to sign up. You get a racing bib that says 223 Foundation when you sign up. Also, every single dime goes to scholarships. One thing we're trying to do, we're trying to groom the next generation. So your whole donation, your whole $23, it goes straight to scholarships. And so for students who are pursuing degrees in social justice, we'll be able to qualify. We got a goal of raising $223,000 this year, and we're going to make that happen for the family. And then we have a local event. I know you guys are in Atlanta, but we have a local event Also, with the family later on that night on 2/23, it is going to be a memorial walk. We are going to get out we're going to get out the battery powered candles, and we are going to light up the street. And we're going to walk in the actual neighborhood that Ahmaud lost his life in. So we are going to go in there, and so the whole community will be behind the family. So when the family turn around, I want the whole street just kind of lit up for them, to let them know that we support them. Ahmaud's family going to be able to speak a few words, and then the community is going to follow the family out of the neighborhood. Something Ahmaud Arbery wasn't able to do on 2/23.
As a big cousin, I have younger Black boys in my life, and I just wanted to know, what would be your advice to those giving that conversation to Black boys and Black men living in a time where we have stories like what happened to Ahmaud Arbery? I think that would just be really helpful for me and a lot of us, because it's a hard conversation to have, but it's also very needed in this time. So what would be your advice to that person giving that advice?
So just ask them how they feel. That's what I've been doing with my players, and that's what I found out works best. Allow them to vent. Allow them to tell you that they are vulnerable, something we don't do enough as a community. Allow them to vent to you, and just ask them and just listen. Like, how does this make you feel? After seeing this, talk to me, cuz. Tell me, you know what I'm saying? I'm your big cuz, talk to me. How does that make you feel? And just listen. And you'll be surprised at how therapeutic that is to them.
I, as a Black male and living in a community of others, I appreciate you, man. Just by using your voice and your talents and being a teacher, and then you being a coach, like you're planting and planting seeds for the next generation. And I just like personally, I just want to say thank you.
I appreciate it. And I would just like to encourage anybody. Civil rights movement was started by kids, 15, 18 years old, because they didn't have jobs, so you couldn't threaten to fire them. It was started by kids. It was started by young people. Martin Luther King was only 26 when he did the bus boycott. Walk in your purpose. And that's what I would encourage all young people to do.
Thank you, Coach Vaughn, for sharing your words, being out here in the community, and really like stepping forth and taking on the actions, no matter what brings them. And I just want to thank you personally. Young Vibe Summit want to thank you. And whatever we can do, even if we can go down there and finish the run with you.
Yeah, we're on your team no matter what.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Like I said, Atlanta's like Big Brother. They create change. And so to see that support and feel that support, it's been great in our small city, man. Appreciate you.
Man, I am so thankful to be able to meet with the guests that we had today. We had some really inspiring words, people that are out here doing some really inspiring work. So please stay tuned, because it's not over.
Young Vibe Summit, Heartbreak P-Boy, Carmen Bridges, each and every last Friday of the month, 7 p.m. Tune in.
Vibes.